Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jodi. Welcome to my home in Atlanta. Let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Jodi Bond. I'm a mother of four. I live here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I am a designer, but I also show people how to create homes they love using DIY, and I share this with my community online. So I live here about 30 minutes outside of the city of Atlanta. We're out here in the suburbs. This home was built in 1984, so it's not terribly old, but when we found it initially and moved into it, it needed a lot of work. There had been no renovation done whatsoever on the house. So basically it was a blank canvas for me to play with. Welcome to my entryway. As you can see, this is somewhat of a small space, but let me tell you, this space used to be much smaller. So if you see this beam right here in the side of my entryway, this used to be a wall. And so when you walked into my front door, you were hit in the face with a staircase and then a narrow hallway, which really closed this space down. And so as soon as we moved in here, I realized I really wanted to open this space up. So the first project that we did in this house was to remove this wall, open our space up so that the entryway now isn't quite so cramped and it extends into the living room. One of my very first DIYs that I did in this house was to redo the stairway. Now, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. All I knew is I hated the way that this looked. This house, when we moved in, it was from the 1980s and it was full of very dark wood and huge, thick carpet. It seemed like it was this thick. And the previous owners, bless their hearts, had 8 cats. And so it was dingy and pretty dark. And I hated the fact that when someone entered my front door, they were just confronted with all of this dingy, dark space. So without really knowing what I was doing and not really being a DIYer at the time, I decided to just rip that carpet out. And what I found underneath it were pine boards. These boards are actually not supposed to be exposed. They're not stain proof. But I decided I was just going to do it anyways because it was better than the cat carpet that I had before. So I stained the pine, painted the risers, and then we did a very inexpensive railing here. These are actually 2x4s from the lumber store and a 3x3 post, and just put this up. And this was intended to be just a temporary makeover for this space until we had the time and the budget to fully redo it. And the exciting thing is I'm actually going to be starting that project later this month, but for now, this has been working for us. One thing that I love to do in design, especially if I have a space that I'm not fully able to finish at the time, is to use the art of distraction. And you will find this very often in my house. And so this wall right here is what I like to call the art of distraction. So we have these stairs right here that aren't the best quality. They really need to be replaced. Instead of hiding that, I actually try to draw attention to that area in some other way. So I put up this really fun wallpaper. It's peel and stick wallpaper. It's easy to remove, but for the time being, it makes this space actually have a lot of character, a lot of personality. And then eventually, when I redo this entire space, maybe we'll keep it, maybe we won't. But in the meantime, it's a nice place to look at. I am a big fan of art, but collecting a lot of art over time is a process. And so sometimes I make use of generic art, and that's what I've done here on this wall. I actually semi-recently put this wallpaper up, and I wanted to fill it with some vintage art, but I'm still on the lookout for that art. So in the meantime, I just grabbed some pieces from Target and Home Goods, and I put them up on this space to fill it out. And then as I find the perfect piece of art, then I'll start replacing those things and filling the space with things I really, really love. Now, let's head to my living room. Follow me. So this is my living room. This room has been the most challenging room for me to design, and that's because it's not symmetrical in hardly any way. So when we took this wall out, if you notice, the entryway here is not lined up properly with the fireplace, and so there's no way to get the furniture that we need in this space and have it all lined up, which has been a process for me. I'll continually move things around. I decided to fill up this room with a curved sofa, and this sofa is actually also a very old DIY. I found this sofa on Facebook Marketplace for maybe $200. It was covered in a palm tree print. It was not very nice to look at, but with the help of my neighbor, we took all the covering off, sewed a new cover back together, and then attached it, which was a really fun project to do. My parents are both Dutch, and one aspect of the Dutch culture that has really inspired me is this term and this word gezellig. It's sort of like the word hygge, and it's this idea of combining a beautiful space with a story and great company, putting it all together to create an atmosphere that is homey and warm and inspiring. And so if you'll notice, a lot of places and pieces in my home have a story to them. One of those pieces is this guitar. So both of my sons play the guitar, and they learned to play guitar on this guitar particularly. They both played their first concerts with this guitar, and the neat thing about this guitar is that their great-grandfather made it. So last year, actually, it got a small crack in it, and so we had to retire it, but I didn't just want to put it away in the attic space. I thought this guitar has such a story, and it's so unique that it was handmade by a family member. So I just put it up on the wall. And the nice thing is my kids will take it off and they'll still play it, which I love. This is an art piece that I actually made live on Pinterest television last year. Funny story behind this live. I was putting this whole piece together, teaching people how to make it, to do their own DIY floral wall covering, as we'll call it. But my microphone was connected to my AirPods, which were in the kitchen. And so I was live on TV for about 45 minutes to an hour doing a instructional video, and nobody could hear me. It was really stressful because I could read from their comments that they couldn't hear me, but the show must go on. I didn't know what was going on with my sound. So we made this, and hopefully without any verbal cues, people got the idea of how to put this together. It's a really easy DIY. Behind this are just a few nails that I attached to the wall in the shape that I wanted this design to go. And then I used chicken wire, twisted it up so it's a bit of a tube that is twisted, and then just placed florals and dried flowers and grasses in at different angles to create the look I wanted. Very easy, but I love it. I love to decorate with old books. You'll find those all around my house. Sometimes though, I want my books that I'm actually reading to be displayed as well. So I'll take their jackets off, and you can find that here. Some of the books I'm reading are not vintage and old, but when I remove their jackets, they look vintage and old, and then I can display them with all my vintage books, which I love. Another DIY I did a couple years ago was this Anthropology mirror hack. So Anthropology sells this really popular, famous gold gilded mirror, and I thought, I bet I can make that. So I bought a mirror in the same shape, and then I used wooden decals, attached it to my mirror, used spray paint and rub and buff, and was able to get a very similar look at a much more reasonable price, which I loved. I found this piece online a couple years ago, and I really love it. So this is a Russian artist, and she likes to portray human nature in just different and unique ways. And this particular picture represents, it looks like a woman from maybe the 50s who's not able to go off to war, but is dreaming of going off to war. And she's put herself in her cloak and she's looking in the mirror. It's called Soldier. But it spoke to me in a different way. When I saw it, I was going through a divorce and it was a bit public and I had to show up online every single day. And it was really difficult thing to do. And so I saw this photo of this woman and she's just in a vulnerable state, yet she's looking at herself. To me, it looks like she's looking at herself in a screen and she's all armored up. She's got her suit and the look in her eyes says, we can do this. And that just really spoke to me and it inspired me and gave me courage to continue to show up and to recognize that I can do it too. When we were searching for a home about 10 years ago, we knew we wanted to be in this particular area of Atlanta. It had the schools that we wanted, but we could not find a home that we loved that was in our price range. There was truly only one home on the market, which was this one, and it was so ugly, if I'm being honest, that I refused to even come look at it. I thought, that is not my home. I don't care if I have to move somewhere else and not be quite so close. I'm not moving to this home. It's not for me. A friend of mine said, well, why don't you just go look at the house? And I agreed begrudgingly. And we drove out to the area and it's actually so beautiful out here. A lot of the homes here in the suburbs of Atlanta are very new. And so they're very cookie cutter. Every home in the neighborhood looks exactly the same, but this neighborhood is old. It's one of the older neighborhoods in the area. And so as you drive in, the homes are built around the trees. There's a lot of hills. There's a lot of character. Each home was different. So I immediately loved the neighborhood more than the houses that I was seeing. And then as we drove around and saw this house, there was just something about it. It was so interesting. As soon as I saw it, I knew it was our home. Now I'm gonna take you to my kitchen. Follow me. Welcome to our kitchen. This is the hardest working room in the house. It's quiet and peaceful right now, but come 2:30, when my kids start coming home from school, it is just the hub of the home. We are always bustling, always cooking, eating. In fact, one thing I've learned with my older children is that the key to a young adult's heart is through food. I didn't know this before. And so one thing I've been doing with my family on Sunday nights is we've been meal prepping for the entire week. We have a really busy schedule, and without meal prepping, we will be eating fast food all the time, just grabbing snacks. But if we take some time to meal prep, then we have a whole fridge stocked with healthy foods that everybody wants to eat. And so it's really fun. On Sunday nights, I'll be down here cooking all sorts of things, and they love to jump in. My son has his famous no-bake cookies that he usually makes and throws in the freezer. My oldest daughter is really into healthy eating, and so she makes these ginger shots. And let me tell you, the dishes on Sunday nights are up to here. I mean, every counter space is full, but it's so fun. We've got the music blaring, but great memories are being made. One of the most defining aspects of this kitchen is this bright green cabinet color. Now, my kitchen has been through quite the transition. When we first bought this home, it was very dark and there were a lot of cabinets. So there were cabinets lining up the wall, cabinets that went over top of the window, cabinets down here. There were cabinets that extended out over the peninsula. And this area, the appliances had never been updated since the 1980s. And so it had this small little oven, a built-in oven, and just cabinets, very, very dark stained wood. So one of the first things that we did was rip out all of those cabinets because it really made the space feel so small. And then we tiled the wall with bright tile, added in some open shelving to really open this space up. Now, my kitchen cabinet color has gone through quite a process as well. So this started out as a very dark wood stain. And when I moved in, I painted it with gray chalk paint, and I had it like that for a few years. Well, As time went on, I realized I really wanted to infuse this room with more color, and I decided to go incredibly bold, and I painted my lower cabinets in a mustard yellow, which I loved. We had the uppers white still, and the lower cabinets were yellow, and it was just like a party in here every time, full of sunshine. But when I became a single parent, I was considering selling the house, and I thought I was gonna sell. And so I thought, mustard yellow cabinets might be a little bit of a hard sell. So I repainted the colors a soft eggshell blue, and it was really peaceful, very beautiful in this space. Well, I decided not to sell the house and realized that that baby blue wasn't really a reflection of me, and I wanted something more bold. At the time, I was upgrading my appliances to these Smeg appliances, and they had this avocado green oven with a matching hood, and I thought, well, why don't I just do a tone on tone with that, which made me decide on this green color for my cabinets, which is also very fun, but it's very funny to look back in my photo library and see how many different colors my kitchen has been over the years. So oddly enough, some of my favorite pieces in my house are simply my vintage dinnerware. I am obsessed with vintage dinnerware, and so I buy it anytime I find some good vintage pieces. These are some of my favorite here. They're an Art Deco set of glasses, and I keep these on display, but we use them every single day. Some more of my favorite pieces in this space are these handmade pottery. My brother and his wife actually have an incredible company where they make handmade mugs, and this is their handmade pour over, and I love these pieces. They're my favorite. Each of these pieces are hand etched and hand painted. They're so unique. And so I collect those, and I keep these displayed as well, although everything on these shelves, as I said, we use on the daily. This is a pretty small kitchen, and I wanted a smaller table for this space, but it was difficult to find the right size, so I decided to make one. These legs are from a company called Pretty Pegs, and they create table legs and chair legs for people who want to DIY their furniture. And then this tabletop I found, I think on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, painted it, and then put the two together and found a table, or created a table that was the right size for this space. So if you've noticed, my table is set. I actually started doing this a couple years ago, keeping my tables set. This is for two reasons. Number one, it makes my life very convenient when it's time for dinner. Number two, my children don't cover it. Well, let's be honest. Me and my children don't throw all of our junk on it if it's set. And so this is a hack that I've learned, which is just to keep my house organized and to feel put together. I keep my table set, and then we're ready to eat when it's time. Now, I'd love to show you the dining room. Welcome to my dining room. This room is used every night. This is where my kids and I eat dinner, talk about the day, connect. As you can see, my table is set, as my little life hack that I learned is to set these tables, keep the room clean. This door was one of the products that I created in my first business. So the first business that I started out of this home was to design and create furniture. And this was one of the products that we created and that we would sell. I didn't end up keeping that business. I transferred my work over to design, but I love keeping this door here just because it's a reminder of where I started. This piece is actually an IKEA shoe rack that I transformed into my daughter's art supply. We keep it over here. My youngest daughter is so creative. She's always making beautiful pieces of art. So everything that she has is stashed in here. I wanted to make this piece look a little bit more interesting. When I bought it, it was just white and it sat on the floor. It didn't have legs. So I added some legs from Pretty Peg, and then I painted this side in stripes and added a fun little wallpaper print on this side. Most of my furniture in this space is from Jodi Bond, but I also have a couple vintage pieces right here, these chairs at the end of the table. And then this cabinet is from Castlery. One way I like to design is to really use statement lighting pieces. And this piece is from the brand Mitzi. It's very oversized for this room, but I really like it because it makes such a statement. It sets the stage for the room, and I can't really imagine the room without it. The other day I watched the Joker movie in theaters, and then I was out at my local antique shop and found this sad Joker and had to pick him up. He reminded me of the movie, and well, I just wanted him in my home with me. This is my bar area. I actually host a lot, and so I keep some of my barware here, and then some of it is in the kitchen. But these are the pieces that I like to display. Just the other day, I was out at the antique store, and I found this sad clown. He's a vintage watercolor painting, and I thought he'd be perfect for this space, so I picked him up. He makes me happy. I wanted to add a little bit more personality to this room, so I ended up creating this wall molding. It's a decorative wall molding. I was inspired by some European homes that I had seen that had similar molding like this, and it really just helps give some character to this room, where without it, it was a little bit bland, a little lackluster. Something really interesting about this home, as we drove up and I saw it for the first time, I had an intuition that, number one, this was our home, and number two, that I would build a business out of this home. It just flashed into my head as soon as I saw it, which was interesting because at the time, my youngest was 6 months old. I was a stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooling our kids. And so it was such an unusual knowing for me to have about this home. So as we toured the home and looked at what it really wasn't the home that I was searching for at the time. I was wanting a new build. I was wanting just something easy to move my family into, and this home was not it. But I just had a feeling that this was our home, so we jumped in. We were not looking for a renovation project at the time, but we decided to take it on. Now I'll take you upstairs. Let's go. This is my primary bedroom. This is my retreat. This is my quiet space that I love to go to after everybody has settled down and is in their bedrooms for the night. I really wanted to create a Parisian modern feeling bedroom, and I ended up painting this accent wall in a dramatic black, and especially at night when I have the lights low and just these side lamps on, it's so moody and cozy in here with this black wall. But I just kept one wall black because during the day, actually, I like to have this room bright and lit up. I do a lot of work in my bedroom, and so all the rest of the walls in here are white, and that allows me to get a lot of light in during the day. I added this accent molding in this room as well, which really gives the room some more of that character. My bed is a romantic mauve velvet, which I really love. And then I love to mismatch my bedding. This bedding is from an Australian company called Kip & Co. They make really nice linens, and I love their prints and their patterns. I hung curtains in the same colorway as my bed. Those are also velvet, so it helps give the room a cohesive look. The lighting in this room is from Mitzi, so these are their wall sconces and then the chandelier as well. This piece of art I love as well. It's called Floating, and it's so ethereal and dreamy, and I love also the colors in this space with these teals that match with the light purple here. I think it really coordinates well. I carried that same color scheme over here to the dresser, where I color blocked a light teal at the bottom with a white on top. And it really helps combine the space and marry those two colors from the painting over here to my dresser. And then this side of the wall right over here is actually in transition. When I did my closet makeover, which I'll show you in just a moment, I actually took my dresser from this space and I moved it over to the closet area. And I've been wondering what to use here instead. I really like every piece in my house to be utilized and to be a functioning piece. I don't like wasted furniture or wasted pieces, yet I didn't need any more dressers or clothing storage. So I got the idea to actually do a built-in fireplace. And this will be the project that I'm working on next. I actually go get my fireplace this week. It's an electric fireplace, and I'll be DIYing again and creating an entire fireplace wall over on this side where I'll mount a TV, and this room is going to be just that much more cozy when I'm finished. Off of the bedroom is the primary bathroom. I'm actually very excited to share this bathroom with you because it is another room in progress. And I've said that a lot on this tour, but that's because oftentimes, especially when you're renovating a home, it can take time. And what I believe is that that is all right. There is no rush to finish things. If you need to take your home in stages, that's totally fine. But one way I like to do it is to give it, like I said, just a little bit of love, just a little bit of elevation, so that while you're waiting to do that space, it can still be a space that you enjoy. And this room is absolutely that way. I need to renovate this entire bathroom, but in the meantime, I've done what I like to call a lipstick renovation, and I want to show you that now. This bathroom was very outdated and pretty demoralizing, if I'm being honest, to use. And so I really wanted to give it some elevation. And I did so with a bunch of temporary solutions. When I renovate, this will be a double vanity, but in the meantime, I used what I had. So I repainted the original vanity. I added a caning feature, new hardware, and then I went online and found just an inexpensive vanity top, added the vanity, added an Amazon fixture to the space, and really helped elevate what was already here. For the floors, I used peel and stick tile. And the funny thing is about this flooring, since I knew I wanted it to be very temporary, I didn't adhere it very well because I wanted it to be easy to pull up. So it's pulling up in a couple places, but that's actually how I want it. I used peel and stick wallpaper and just covered the walls in this happy pink print, and then added a board and baton feature on these walls over here. My favorite feature is the art piece that I have at the end here. It's really just such a pop, and it takes your eyes away from all of the spaces that need renovation, like this bathtub, and is such an eye catcher, such an eye grabber, and I like this space. I'll actually be a little sad when I take it all out and renovate it. My style is a bit eclectic. I really focus on the feel of a home more than staying within a particular style. And so I draw a lot of inspiration from European design. I also love a little flair of the bohemian natural style. And I infuse everything that I do with a lot of natural sunlight, a lot of greenery and plants, and then try to sprinkle in different elements in the room that are a little surprising, quirky, and hopefully make someone smile. My favorite space in my house right now is my bedroom. So as a busy mom of 4, this is the place where I can close my door and retreat and find some peace and some quiet. I am a huge reader, and so I'm often reading in my bedroom at night when my kids go to bed. My favorite DIY that I have done in this home is my walk-in closet. So my closet space when we first moved in was dismal. It was maybe 5 feet wide, which isn't too small, but it has sloped ceilings on it. So it really cut the closet space in half. There was no space for clothes, no space for shoes, no space for storage. A year ago, I started to renovate this room, and then just 4 months ago, I finished a second phase of renovation and made an amazing walk-in closet that has enough storage, enough space for everything that I could need, and I'm so proud of it. Let me show you my closet space now. So this is the walk-in closet that I created. I'm very proud of this space. You will not believe where we came from. So what used to be in this space was one small closet right here. It's about this wide. And then another small closet right here. A narrow hallway that then opened up to this space, and then what is beyond this wall. It was really a lot of wasted space. I really needed closet space. Instead, we just had a bunch of random storage space that was a dumping ground for clutter. And I really, really wanted to make this room better. What I did last year was to take down the small wall that was here, repair the ceiling, and then I bought the IKEA PAX wardrobe system, but I had to hack it because the PAX wardrobe system goes up, I believe, 80 inches or so, and my walls were not that high. So I utilized their drawers and I utilized some of their accessories, but I actually built my own walls and partitions here so that I could create a space that was custom to this room. The first thing I did in this space was to build a wall here, and that helped separate this room from the room that's behind it and create this entire room a closet space. However, it was still pretty disjointed with an enclosed closet over here and an enclosed closet over here. So the first step was to remove the closet walls that were in this space. I wanted to use the IKEA PAX wardrobe system. I did not want to have to be building my own drawers for this space, yet it wasn't going to fully fit in this room because the side partitions of the PAX system are pretty high and they wouldn't fit with this sloped ceiling. So what I did was I purchased their drawers and some of their accessories, and then I built my own side partitions with their dimensions. That way I was able to use some of their features like these pull-out drawers and pants racks, but it would fit in this space with these sloped ceilings. I did this side of the closet remodel about a year ago, and it was so much work. It took me a few months, and it was very intimidating. I had never hung ceiling drywall before. I was having to mess with electrical and do a lot of things that I had no experience with. And so after I finished this side of the room, I stopped, and I wasn't sure if I was wanting to finish this side of the closet. However, after a year of looking at this disjointed room, I decided to go for it. And so a few months ago, I did the same thing. I pulled down this wall. I rebuilt another wall here. And then, as I said before, I took my IKEA dresser and I created a small built-in over here. So my dresser space can be in this area. And then the neat thing about this second phase of the build is that I had learned so much doing this side of the room that when I took this on, it was actually a breeze. And the whole build only took me a couple weeks instead of a few months. And the workmanship, in my opinion, is quite a bit better. So it's kind of cool to see the progress that I made as I continue to do DIYs and learn how to build. I love this little nook area right here. I found this vintage dresser and I knew I wanted it in the space. And I added a vintage vanity mirror and a very Art Deco inspired light. I love to repeat color and pattern. I find that sometimes that's pretty unexpected. So I actually got the idea for these stripes on the wall from my bench here that used to be in my bedroom. I think the repeat here is just a really fun way to incorporate this color into the space. My favorite feature of this room is the wallpaper that I hung on the ceiling. Again, I hung this wallpaper when I did my first phase of this remodel, and it was another one of those arts of distraction where I wasn't fully finished with the space, but I wanted it to have a wow factor. So I added this wallpaper on the ceiling, which really gave me that, and then extended the black down from the ceilings and then to the side wall here. Now, let me show you what's behind this curtain. So this is a secret room behind my closet through my bedroom, which is kind of like a little tunnel situation. And this is a room in transition right now. This used to be my office space, but earlier this year, my two teenagers who were sharing a room really needed to be separated. So I thought, you know what, let's just put one of them in this space. And I turned this into a bedroom earlier this year. At first, I was a little nervous about what it would be like to have a teenager sort of in my room, because that's essentially what it is. But it's worked out so far and we coexist pretty easily, and so it hasn't been bad at all. These built-ins right here on this side of the wall are actually pretty special to me. They were the first real project that I took on after I became a single parent, and the first project that I had done that I had to use some substantial power tools, which I was very intimidated to do. But it was actually pretty great. I again used IKEA. I used the IKEA system for the base here, and then I built in some shelves above it, built in a window seat, and it was very empowering to be able to create this space and know that I could do it all by myself. I created this space as my office initially, and so this used to have my desk here and my chairs here, and I could look out the window. But for the time being, while we have a teenager in this space, we put an old couch up here, we've got our TV over here, and it's usable for our family in this season of life. Home is very important for me, especially in this season of life. My children are getting older and life is so busy. There's a lot of travel going on, but my home is where my family and I are rooted. It's where we can come back to at the end of travel or at the end of a long day, and we can congregate often in the kitchen where we do eating snacks, laughing, goofing off, and really finding togetherness again. One thing I found that is really important to me about home is to have plants or a garden. And this is because it requires maintenance, consistent maintenance. And what I love about that is it keeps me coming back to home. It keeps me coming back to my community. I have a wonderful community of neighbors. And so I don't want to ever get too busy to remember to check in to our home base.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.